Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our weekly reflections here from Regis College and the Center for Ministry and Service. It is great to be with all of you once again, and we continue to struggle with the pandemic that's part of our lives, and we continue to ask questions. And we have some very wonderful scripture stories to help us with that. And today is the story of the disciples on the road to Emmaus, and it's one of my favorites in that it's a story not about just the disciples on the road to Emmaus. It's a story about the ways in which we need to go through life that is very challenging and difficult for us these days. So I have a question. Did you ever walk into a glass wall? Did you ever mistakenly walk through a screen door? How does that happen? It's happened in a lot of our lives, and I've seen it happen both to myself and I've seen it happen to others. And why does it happen? Lots of the reasons it happens is because we're distracted. We're not paying attention. We limit ourselves, and all of a sudden, bang, something happens, and we're brought to attention. And that happened for the disciples today. It was very unpredictable for the two of them on the road to Emmaus. They weren't sure where they were going or what they were doing. And oftentimes, life was very unpredictable for them because Jesus had supposedly risen from the dead, but no one knew where he was or how he was functioning in their lives. And all of a sudden, they were walking along, discussing this whole thing, and a stranger appears and starts chatting with them, asks them what's wrong, and they begin to talk about their life experience. And it gets late in the day, and the great prayer, I think, that should be for each and every one of us on this day, that the two people on the road to Emmaus uttered to that gentleman that's with them, who turns out to be Jesus, is, "Stay with us. Stay with us." Let that be our prayer. Because when he stayed with them, he showed them another way. You know, we're so used to having the presence of God in the Eucharist. And now we can only have it virtually. And it bothers each and every one of us that it happens that way. But that's the way it is. But in the meantime, our prayer has to be like the disciples on the road to Emmaus. Stay with us. And what happened? What happened was he showed his presence in the breaking of the bread. And it wasn't the Eucharist. It was the breaking of his life for them. And that's happening for each and every one of us in very predictable and unpredictable ways in our lives. As we move forward, we look towards the ways in which our God can be present to us, can enable us, and can strengthen us. It's unpredictable. I got a call the other day, and I looked at the phone number, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I hope they're okay." I picked up the phone, and the person at the other end of the phone simply said, "We're just calling to make sure you're okay. How are you doing?" I felt so great. There was a presence. It wasn't the Eucharist, but it was the life shared and broken. How are our lives shared and broken with one another? And can we have that prayer of the two people on the road to Emmaus? Stay with us. And if we do have that, and if we pay attention, and if we're not too distracted, we will experience a very different presence of God. Not one that we expect. They didn't expect it, but they got it. And it was enough to energize them, to strengthen them, and to help them move forward. So let each and every one of us ask our loving God in these coming days, through the story of Emmaus, to show us a way in which we can experience God's presence. Perhaps in situations we read about, perhaps in people that call us, perhaps in prayers that we utter. May that peace and presence of God be there. And may we utter that prayer, "Stay with us." And when we do, know that God will be present if we are open to the ways in which God chooses to be a part of our lives in a very, very challenging life situation. God bless all of us as we move forward. As I told you last week, perhaps the Eucharist ways in which we can participate would be through CatholicTV.org. Notre Dame University has a wonderful service at 10 a.m. on Sundays, as well as St. Cecilia's of the Back Bay. Let's be with one another and echo that prayer, "Stay with us," and know that that prayer will definitely be answered.